and welcome to Delicious Sparkly Cakes. Today I'm going to show you how to make a magical Cinderella cake. I love to make it because it brought me back to when I was a little girl myself, and Cinderella was one of my favorite cartoons. As you can see, I already printed this beautiful picture of Cinderella, and I'm going to cut this image into two. So I'm going to cut this beautiful skirt and then the upper body, and I'm going to use them as a template for my cake. Now I'm going to put the photo of the skirt onto my cake, and then I'm starting to cut my cake. But as you can see, I put the skirt all to one side as it was too big, and I'm going to use the leftover cake for the rest of the skirt. And I'm cutting this leftover cake to fit better on the cake. So let's cut a little bit more rounder. It does fit much better now. Then we're going to round all the edges, and then with another piece of a big leftover cake, I'm gonna put it at the top of the skirt, and I'm gonna use it for the body and also for the head as well. And because this part of the body is really small, it's going to be perfect with it. As you can see, I'm trying to cut it as much as similar as possible as the photo. However, if it's not perfect, it doesn't matter because we're gonna fix it afterwards. Now I'm going to cut it in the middle really carefully. Remove the top from it, and here, as you can see, I'm using a smoother to help me with it so that the cake won't break. And now I'm filling it with some delicious vanilla buttercream. And also I'm putting some buttercream between the pieces that I've cut, so they're gonna glue all together. Then I'm going to put the cake on top of the cream. We can cover the whole cake with the leftover buttercream. And then I'm going to put the cake in the fridge to chill before decorating. Meanwhile, I'm going to start making some decorations. And I'm going to start making some long strips which are going to help me making the skirt. And they're going to help me really to emphasize the ruffle of the skirt. And as you can see, I already made 3 for the lighter part of the skirt and a bigger one for the bigger part of the skirt. Now the cake is ready, so let's put the skirt decorations onto the cake. And while I'm putting all this decoration, I always make sure that I have the photo of Cinderella just in front of me to make sure that it is as similar as possible. Then I've rolled some blue fondant and cutting, always looking at the template, and then I've started to decorate the cake as well. So I've started from the first part of the skirt from the right of the cake, but you can start wherever you want to. And then I've cut the lighter part of the skirt. So now we can put it on top of the cake, and with our fingers we're going to try to follow the decoration that there is underneath. Obviously, if there is any extra fondant, we're going to cut it. And now I'm going to cover the rest of the cake, again with a darker blue. And again with my fingers I try to feel where the decoration below is and make it stick. You might want to use some tools as well to help you with it. Gentle, I'm opening the fondant in the middle And then I'm gonna add some white fondant. This is the part where the skirt shows all the nice white ruffle underneath. At this point I've added some white fondant on the inside just to make sure that the skirt is all up. Then I removed it because I want to make sure that the ruffle is going to look as similar as possible as in the photo. So I removed it from the inside really carefully. Meanwhile, the top blue fondant started to get harder. So then I started to add some strip of white fondant. First all around it, and then at the bottom is just have more curves. And because it was too soft, I put some cocktail sticks to make sure that they stand still. Now let's go back to make the body. And to make Cinderella's body, first of all, we're going to make a drop, press it a little bit, and then around at the top to make the neck. Now let's round a little bit more the breast. Keep going like this until it is of the right size, same as the photo. Then we're going to cut the top of Cinderella, just cut a little bit wider compared to the actual template, as obviously we need to cover the sides as well. Now let's put it on top of the body and then cut any extra fondant. Before putting the head, we're going to cut diagonally the neck, and then we're going to apply a novel on top of it, looking towards the left. At this point, with the help of a handle brush, we're going to make a line in the middle of the face, again a little bit diagonally, as she's going to look over the left. And then we're going to press with our fingers to make some room for the eyes. At the same time, as you can see, we're building up the nose. Then with a pointed tool, we're going to make 2 holes for the nostrils, and again we're still going to work on it because we want the outside of the nostrils a little bit more round. Make a line for the mouth and then cut a little bit more. Inside the mouth, we're going to add a piece of white fondant, as she has on the photo, and only afterwards we're going to make the mouth, and we're going to push and lift a little bit the fondant to make sure that the mouth is coming up. Add a piece of black fondant for the color, and then cut any extra. Now now we're gonna move on making the eyes, and the first thing that we're going to do is to draw the eyes. And to do so, you're going to draw a curved line at the top and another line at the bottom. Then we're going to remove the inside of the eye because we're going to fill it with some white fondant afterwards. And then we're going to make this part nice and flat using a ball tool. So now we can add some white fondant, just a tiny bit, not too much. And we want to make sure that we're going to fill all the gap all around the eye as well. Like the irises, I'm using some blue gel paste, which has a little bit of white color as well inside of it. And I always like to have a little bit lighter in the middle and darker all outside. Then I've painted the eyelashes with some black gel paste. And I don't know if you can see, but I've painted the pupils as well with some black. At this point, I've painted the eyebrows using some brown gel paste, which I think is quite nice because it is lighter compared to the eyes. Finally, I've added some white dots on the eyes to make the eye pop up a little bit more. To color the lips instead, I'm using a light pink. To make the ear, I've added a novel onto the side, and then I'm making an outside line and then another one on the inside. Now let's move on to make the beautiful hair blonde that Cinderella has. And I've started making lots of strips of yellow fondant, and then I started to apply them from the back towards the front. As you can see, she has this kind of big chunk of hair from the front and then going at the back. And then she has a piece of hair as well at the front of her ear. To make the bun as well, I've added a bowl of yellow fondant, and then I've made some lines, I've drawn some lines to it so that it could look a little bit more real and nicer really. To make the arms instead, I'm using a long sausage, then I've cut it in half. Then I rolled, leaving just a tiny bit to make the wrist. And I've made 4 cutters to make 5 fingers. Then I rolled it again to make where the elbow is, and I inserted the ball tool so that then I can add the arm. But before inserting the arm, we need to insert a cocktail stick that will support the arms afterwards. Then I'm going to add these nice sleeves using 3 strips of fondant on the left and on the right as well, and just put it on her shoulders. To make the top of the skirt, I've added some more long drops of fondant or sausages. One of the reasons because I love sugar craft and cake decorating is because I'm a very creative person, and I really like to change, and I don't like to do the same thing very often, and this is a really nice thing. But on the other hand, sometimes it has its downside. In fact, because it's never, and you only realize afterwards, and you have to make changes while making them. And for me to show it to you, sometimes I do make mistakes, and then I have to show you what I've done and how you can make it, and so that you don't make the same mistakes as well. Now it is nice because the cake, it's all starting to look all together, and as you can see, the hands stand still by themselves. However, I've added some cocktail sticks to make sure that they're still going to stand, as I still need to do some work on it. And again, I didn't like the top of the skirt, and on the left I've added a little bit more pieces of fondant to look a little bit more round, to match even more the photo. Finally, I've decorated the cake board as well with some kind of magic swirl. I guess this is how I would call it, but I'm not sure. Just let me know in the comment if you have another name for it. And I've added more on the left as well. And then I've realized that instead of adding them only with the brush, I could add a little bit more with a cocktail stick as well, which would help me as well to make some bigger stars as well, which I love it because they look a little bit more magical and a little bit more dreamy. On the right of the cake board as well, I've painted the castle. And on the left as well, I've painted a very simple Cinderella's pumpkin carriage. And on this kind of girl's cake, I always like to add some edible glitters all over the cake because I think it looks so much nicer, and all the girls really loves it. I really hope you did enjoy this cake. I really loved to make it because it was really nice, and it brought me back to when I was a little girl myself. I really loved Cinderella. It was one of my favorite cartoons, and I really hope you like it too. See you next time. Bye bye.